That Starfield presentation got me pretty hyped for Starfield's release. It'll be out in just a few months, but here are some other awesome sci-fi games you can play until you begin your planet-hopping adventure this September. Mass Effect Trilogy. I'm Commander Kino, and this is my favorite game on the Citadel. Honestly, the Mass Effect Trilogy is the quintessential sci-fi gaming experience, and with the remastered versions of those classic games available, there's never been a better time to explore the cosmos as Commander Shepard. And if you have Game Pass, you don't even have to pay a dime. The first Mass Effect is a great introduction to the universe, and a great game in its own right, but honestly, Mass Effect 2 is where this franchise really shines. There's never been a bigger emotional gut punch than the final mission of Mass Effect 2, and I'm still recovering from that 13 years later. Mass Effect as a series has an awful lot of similarities to what Starfield will be offering, including a robust Paragon Renegade system that carries throughout the entire series. There are even choices you make in the first Mass Effect game that don't resonate until the third one. This is BioWare at its finest, and hey, maybe you'll learn to fall in love with Garrus Vakarian like the rest of us. Personally, I'm a Tallymancer, but maybe that's just her affinity for machines. Makes me feel like I have a chance. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Continuing on with awesome BioWare games, we have the studio's first smash hit, Knights of the Old Republic. While a big remake has been announced, no one knows when that's coming, and the original has never been more accessible. You can get it super cheap on PC, and you can even play it on the Switch, that is if you don't mind missing out on some DLC. I wouldn't bother waiting for that remake, by the way, that's kind of still up in the air. Check out our previous video about it, it's a crazy story, but this is considered to be the best game of all time by many people who remember it fondly, and while there are some systems in the game that feel very outdated by nowadays standards, the story, setting, gameplay, and characters are all top-notch. Everything just feels so good, and few games come this close to feeling like a true Star Wars experience. It's a classic for a reason, and you can easily sink hours upon hours of your time into this world. As an added bonus, you'll be able to see how much BioWare grew between KOTOR and Mass Effect. No Man's Sky. If you've heard about No Man's Sky's rough launch back in 2016, who am I kidding? No Man's Sky's rough launch in 2016 is probably the only reason you know about No Man's Sky. But that was 7 years ago, and Hello Games has made it their life's duty to overcompensate and over-deliver on the game's original promise that blew our minds and had our jaws on the floor. Since the game's launch, there have been 27 massive updates that add new features and gameplay, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. The game has definitely come a long way from its admittedly very sad launch. Look, you can go and find the old meme videos online. We've all heard the one about the Jurassic Park theme, and it was true. And I would say it's one of now the most fun, fully featured sci-fi games of all time. The only game that looks like it will come even close to competing with it is Starfield. So if you're trying to get a taste of that action a little early, I definitely recommend No Man's Sky. If you know some people who are also looking for a killer sci-fi game, it's even more fun with friends if you can convince them to try it with you. No Man's Sky is also available on everything, including the Switch, somehow. Deep Rock Galactic. Hear me out, and if I don't sell you with this one sentence, I'm not sure if we can be friends. Space Wars. No, not the tiny chumps from Snow White. We are talking about strong, burly protagonists of the Deep Rock Galactic franchise. One of the coolest first-person shooters I've played in the last few years. It doesn't have the vastness of No Man's Sky or the narrative depth of any of the BioWare games on this list, but it makes up for that in raw, unadulterated gameplay. You'll explore procedurally generated, fully destructible cave systems, mine them for their exotic resources, and fight off all kinds of insectoid alien creatures. There's a lot to like here, and even more if you have friends to play with. Dwarves never mind alone, you know. So Deep Rock Galactic supports up to 4 players working together to complete objectives and try to get out alive. But if you're afraid of the dark, maybe you skip this one. You have to light up the caves by yourself, and with alien bugs potentially hiding behind every stalagmite, there's plenty of opportunities for scares. Warframe. You might remember Warframe as that one free game that looked interesting but ended up at the bottom of your backlog, so you never got around to playing it. Well, if you're looking for a great game that scratches that itch at the low price of free, it might be time to go back and check it out. Warframe has been around for years, and its community is still going strong. New free updates are constantly rolling out and adding awesome content to the game. The newest update is almost its own roguelike game within Warframe itself, and if I wasn't knee-deep in both Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom, I'd be playing it right now. I have friends that have even recommended Warframe over other similar games like Destiny 2, a game made by a legendary game studio, by the way. This space ninja simulator is honestly the most bang for your buck you can possibly get out of a free game, mostly because so much content has been added to Warframe over the past 10 years. Plus, who doesn't want to be a space ninja that's also kind of a cowboy? Stellaris, for the grand strategy gamers among us. This one is a lot more in-depth than the previous games, and not everyone will find it super accessible, but those who align with the game's sensibilities will be sucked in by what this game offers. Stellaris is made by Paradox Interactive, the creators of Age of Wonders, Crusader Kings, and Europa Universalis, among other legendary strategy games, and that lineage of greatness definitely carries on over into Stellaris. Just check out its Steam reviews, and you know how toxic Steam reviews can be. It's definitely a different kind of game than the first and third person action games that we've had on this list so far, but I'm all about exploring new video game genres, and grand strategy games can definitely be exciting. Maybe give it a chance if you have access to it. You might find a new kind of game you really like. Elite Dangerous. You've probably seen or heard about Elite Dangerous, and it has been around since 2014 after all. What you might not have known, though, is that it's actually the fourth game in a space trading video game series that started back in 1984. That makes it one of the oldest video game franchises in the history of the industry, which is pretty cool, by the way. As far as Elite Dangerous goes, it's a massive online game in which every action and decision made by its players helps to shape the state of the narrative and the unfathomably large Milky Way galaxy that contains it. That's right, the game takes place in the very galaxy we call home, and you can explore roughly 400 billion star systems in a spaceship that you can customize and upgrade however you like. The Odyssey expansion, released in 2021, introduced on-foot first-person gameplay, giving players a closer look at planet's surface than ever before. And there are so many planets to explore, which is cool and all, but also the interplanetary dogfighting and bartering is really what made us fall in love with the series. Star Citizen. We are 12 years deep into the development of this crazy, huge, ultra-realistic MMO space simulator action game. It officially went into production in 2011 and has reportedly raised more than $500 million through its Kickstarter campaigns. And the sale of its in-game spaceships, some of which are egregiously priced. Don't sort the purchasable ships from most to least expensive if you're weak of heart or wallets, by the way. There's no doubt that the game is highly ambitious, and the community that has formed behind it really wanted to become a full game at some point. In the midst of the game's development, its developers also announced a star-studded single-player spin-off called Squadron 42, which is set to star notable actors like Mark Hamill, Andy Serkis, and Gillian Anderson. And that's also super cool, by the way. Okay, so I actually did buy a ship back in 2015, mostly just to pre-order the game. I installed the module and almost melted my computer trying to run it. I did get to sit in my fancy ship and promptly crashed it. In my defense, my computer was chugging along. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It had some pretty serious performance issues when it released, admittedly, but Respawn Entertainment's Star Wars Jedi Survivor is in a much better state than it was a month ago. The continuing adventures of my cousin BD1 and his sidekick Cal Kestis takes players all over the Star Wars galaxy and even to new, never-before-seen planets. There are new abilities, new battle stances, and mullets. Exploring, fighting, and solving puzzles all feel much more refined here than they did in Jedi Fallen Order, and I've been enjoying every minute in the game. It doesn't have the insane number of planets or many of the features of Starfield or even No Man's Sky, but it's still a great sci-fi game that should scratch that itch while you wait for Starfield. And there's kind of something nice about just having a game that just starts and ends, you know? The Outer Worlds. You've probably noticed that one of the big three Western RPG development studios hasn't been represented on this list yet, and that's because we saved them for last. Obsidian Entertainment is the legendary studio behind awesome games like KOTOR 2, Fallout New Vegas, and South Park: The Stick of Truth. And they've made a name for themselves as the go-to RPG studio with games like Pillars of Eternity and the final game on our list, The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is a FPS RPG at first glance, but if you dig just a little deeper, it's also a commentary on the evils of mega corporations in a hyper-capitalistic hellscape, which, if you look outside your window, isn't that far off. By fusing together their experiences making sequels to KOTOR and Fallout, Obsidian has created something pretty special with the Outer Worlds. And its alien fighting, planet-exploring gameplay should keep you occupied and kill some time until you're whisked away by Starfield this September. In the meantime, I'm gonna see if I can turn myself off and sleep till September. Tell us in the comments below if this list included your favorite sci-fi game, or if it included one of your new favorite sci-fi games.